A fresh political storm is brewing as the Unfiltered party prepares to face off against President Cyril Ramaphosa in court once again, this time over the appointment of the police minister. MKP alleges the decision was unconstitutional, made without proper consultation, and part of a broader pattern of executive overreach. With tensions still high after months of coalition friction and public distrust in law enforcement at record levels, this courtroom battle could reshape the balance of power in South Africa's fragile government of national unity. The stakes are high, and the outcome could ripple far beyond a single cabinet post. South Africa's political battleground is shifting once again from rallies and coalitions to the courtroom, and at the center of this latest standoff is a name that refuses to vanish from the headlines: Jacob Zuma and his Unfiltered party. What began as a fierce challenge to the 2024 election results has now evolved into a direct legal war with the presidency, as MKP prepares to take on Cyril Ramaphosa in what is shaping up to be a constitutional showdown over the appointment of the Minister of Police. This isn't just about one post. It's about power, legitimacy, and the future direction of South African democracy itself. As the second round of litigation approaches, the stakes could not be higher. MKP has argued that the appointment of the new police minister was not only politically biased, but potentially unlawful given what they allege is a fundamental lack of consultation, transparency, and constitutional compliance. In their view, Ramaphosa is acting like a man above the law, wielding presidential authority with a heavy hand, ignoring processes designed to keep executive power in check, and undermining democratic accountability in one of the country's most sensitive portfolios. For President Ramaphosa, the police ministry is not just another cabinet post. It is a fortress of state power, one responsible for crime intelligence, national security, SAPS operations, and public order. Whoever controls it commands significant sway over both policing priorities and the protection of state institutions. MKP alleges that by placing an ANC-aligned loyalist in the role without input from broader GNU structures or respecting the spirit of coalition government, Ramaphosa has turned the ministry into a political weapon. Their looming court application promises to pull back the curtain on that decision, demanding clarity on how the appointment was made, what legal advice informed it, and why key stakeholders were allegedly left out of the process. This is not the first time MKP has taken its grievances to the courts, and critics have dismissed the party's legal crusades as little more than political theater. But beneath the courtroom drama lies a very real debate about executive overreach, coalition fragility, and whether the balance of power in South Africa is tilting too heavily toward the presidency. The Constitution, after all, enshrines checks and balances for a reason, and MKP is now positioning itself as the last line of defense against what it calls a creeping authoritarian drift. Insiders close to the matter suggest that the legal team representing MKP is preparing to challenge not just the outcome of the appointment, but the broader legality of how decisions are being made inside Ramaphosa's so-called government of national unity. They are expected to argue that the GNU is acting as a de facto ANC continuation, marginalizing minority voices while projecting the illusion of inclusivity. If they succeed, the implications would be enormous. It would call into question not just the police ministry appointment, but potentially other key roles made without open consensus. For President Ramaphosa, the second round of this legal onslaught is both inconvenient and dangerous. The last thing his administration needs, as it tries to stabilize a shaky coalition, is a constitutional crisis that spills into the courts and dominates media coverage. The ANC is already fending off criticism from the EFF, the DA, and civil society about its handling of coalition negotiations, crime policy, and service delivery. Another legal bruising from the MKP could fracture what little public confidence remains in the government's leadership. But this isn't just a political soap opera, it's a national concern. The police ministry plays a vital role in South Africa's fragile security environment. Violent crime is spiraling. Corruption remains endemic. Public trust in SAPS is at an all-time low. The minister at the helm must be seen as legitimate, competent, and above all, free from the cloud of political controversy. If MKP succeeds in its legal challenge, it could result in the post being vacated, policy disruptions, and yet another leadership vacuum in a portfolio already suffering from instability. Jacob Zuma, for his part, continues to operate from the political shadows, rarely at the forefront of these court cases, but unmistakably the force behind MKP's growing defiance. His party has tapped into a deep well of dissatisfaction in the country, with the ANC, with crime, with inequality, and with a political elite that many feel has forgotten the people it claims to serve. The courtroom has now become the battleground where these grievances are voiced in the language of law rather than protest. And in doing so, Zuma's movement gains something the streets could never offer: legal legitimacy and media oxygen. The looming legal showdown is expected to unfold over the coming weeks, with a full application expected to be filed in the Constitutional Court. Early reports suggest MKP will also seek interim relief measures, perhaps an injunction against any further restructuring of the police ministry, while the case is being heard. Ramaphosa's legal team will likely argue that the president acted within his constitutional mandate and that cabinet appointments remain his exclusive prerogative. The court will be asked to decide whether, under the new GNU arrangement, such prerogatives must now be tempered by shared governance principles. It's a legal minefield with political consequences that stretch far beyond a single ministry. If the court sides with MKP, it could create a precedent that limits presidential authority in coalition settings. It could signal to all smaller parties that the GNU is not immune to legal scrutiny and that executive power must be exercised with accountability and transparency. If the court dismisses the case, MKP may still win in the court of public opinion, framing itself as the only party willing to take on Ramaphosa head-on. For the ordinary South African, though, the courtroom chess match is a reminder of how deeply broken the system feels. While politicians bicker over appointments and legal interpretations, crime continues unchecked, unemployment grows, and communities remain underserved. People don't just want legal victories, they want safer streets, functioning institutions, and leaders who can deliver results instead of press statements. The MKP versus Ramaphosa showdown is a story of law, power, and political will. It is a test of South Africa's constitutional resilience and a snapshot of how fragile the current balance truly is. Whether the courts will intervene or not, one thing is certain: the political temperature is rising. And every legal battle fought in the courtroom now echoes far beyond its walls, shaking the foundations of South Africa's evolving democracy.